So welcome to the throne room project, which is our toilet renovation. So this video is going to show you how I renovated our upstairs toilet from an old style close coupled design to a modern style rimless concealed cistern design. That's a mouthful. This video is going to show you how I did absolutely everything, if that's something that's of interest to you. And I'll be sharing a plethora of tips, tricks, and handy skills that you may actually find useful if you're considering such a project yourself. Anyways, I made this video on my crappy $50 Chinese Oppo phone, so don't expect any special green screen visual effects. You know, this is just dirty filming for a dirty room. Okay, so let's just deal with the massive white elephant that's in the room first up. I see it. You see it. There's no escaping it. This video is a whopping 2.5 hours long, and I mean, that's just crazy, man. I mean, I'm bored even just thinking about it. But if you choose to watch this whole video in one sitting because you find it more exciting than going to the movies, then you have my respect, sir. But before you completely switch off, I'll just say this video is time stamped purposely. So if you're interested in seeing a certain part, click on the relevant link, which is in the description area below. This video is for anyone who's considering attempting a similar DIY project for themselves. You know, I hope you find it's going to be a useful resource if that's something of interest to you. So what I'm showing you up on the screen now is obviously what the old throne room used to look like. And now I'm going to show you the big reveal of our new smoking hot throne room. Now here comes the big reveal. Oh gosh. And now here comes the big reveal. The throne room. What on earth? Yeah, that's the completion of the toilet. We've got a fully functioning smoking toilet, suction powered toilet roll holder. It's actually pretty good. I'm impressed with that. Not too bad at all. Flush panel, chrome plated push buttons, and a nice window. I may probably put up some kind of a blind system there in due course, but otherwise, yeah, pretty happy with the outcome. I hope this video helped any of you guys thinking about tackling a toilet renovation. I won't lie, there is a bit of work that goes in, and I had 2 weeks off from work, so I was able to do a little bit every day to get the job done. You know, there's nothing wrong with tackling this on your own, and I hope some of the ways that I've done some things here have helped you, help inspire you, or give you ideas how you can do maybe a toilet renovation yourself. I'm pretty happy with it. It works fine. The business gets flushed away like it ought to, and there's no leaks at all. And I think it looks $1 million. So it marries in very nicely with the bathroom that's over here. Okay. Any questions on any of the things that I did in this particular project? Feel free to put it in the comments area. Send me a message. My email address, which is listed on my YouTube channel front page. I'll give you some responses or some answers if you like. I just hope you got a few ideas from this particular project. So, okay, thanks for watching. Toilet King is alright in my book. So we're going to be starting a new project here in our home, and the project is the upstairs toilet. We're going to be ripping out this old toilet. This is actually a more newer toilet that I've installed. The previous one actually got a leak, so I replaced it with sort of a cheap one from Bunnings. However, it's time to renovate this bathroom, and this home is about 35 years old, and yeah, it needs an update. Recently I've just renovated the kids' bathroom. This is a kids one. Basically, it was crazy how it was before, so old-fashioned, and this is what it looks like now. Now, I have to say, it's kind of like a pigsty now at the moment. It's just what happens with when life goes on. But it's actually, I'm very happy with the job here. Made it one of these freestanding glass panels, 10mm, and it's actually come up a real treat. And a really good fall down on this side into a drainage point that you can see over there. It's a discreet hidden type of drainage area, and yeah, it came up a real treat. Just needs a really good clean. I really like bathrooms that have sort of no legs, so easy to clean underneath and vacuum, and it's just a hanging design. And the bathtub and various niches, and put a few niches in there as well. Heated towel rails and whatnot, various lights all around the place. So I did this renovation, I don't know, maybe 8 months ago, something like that. And really now it's time to renovate the kids' toilet here and make it suit. So I thought I just might film some of this progress over the next few days, weeks, however long it might take me. But the idea, the plan is, we're going to first start off today by getting rid of all the red tiles, and I'll probably have to get rid of the bedding too, to be honest, because I have to put up a new layer there for the new toilet, which I'll show you in a moment. If you can see, one of the problems this home has, up on this side upstairs, all the windows have a bow in it. That is, the framing all goes like that. Okay, so maybe you can see it, but it's not good. So when I get to it, I'm going to be fixing that as well. Essentially, that whole back wall is going to come off and going to be reframing it for the new toilet that I'm going to be installing here, and I'll show that to you now as well. Anyway, this is the toilet. It's one of these newer type of designs, purchased straight off eBay. I have no problem whatsoever in buying, you know, plumbing from eBay. I've done it many times. I've got no problem. I've bought various toilets, either hanging toilets, hidden cistern toilets. Now this is just the next one that I'm buying. These are watermarked and for Australian use and standards. And the idea of it, you can see it, I think this is a little bit better than a hanging toilet. It'll actually sit on top of my tiles, and when I do my new bedding, lay a new row of tiles when I get the levels and the heights right, and it sits up flush up against the wall like that. And you'll see this is called a rimless toilet. Now I haven't actually had one of these, so fingers crossed it all works fine, but the idea is it's got 2 holes on each side, and there's also a couple of, let's see if I can get this right, a couple of holes there as well. So that'll be interesting just to see how it works. I haven't had one of these types of toilets before, but I think the idea of it is it should shoot water out from the side on each side and basically swirl around, and probably a bunch of streams come down from there and wash your business down. So this is it, fresh out of the box. That's what it looks like. And realistically, until I put some water through it, I won't know how it works, but I've got faith in it. I know I haven't had problems previously, so we'll hope for the best. Up on the bed here, I'm going to open up these boxes in a moment, but this is what comes with it. If you're going to buy one of these toilets, you're going to get this, and I'll show you in a second. This is the hidden cistern that will go into the wall, and I've got to frame up the wall and the stud work to contain that securely. And this will be the toilet seat, and this will be the flush plate, the double, half button press, or half flush and full flush. It's like should be like a chrome plate of some sort. So I haven't actually opened it up. I've had it here for several months now, and today's the day, so to start, and we're going to have a look what's inside the boxes. Just open this up first so you can see. Here we go. And this is the 2-button flush flush plate that's going to be up on the wall. That's all you're going to see up on the back wall. And you press either one, depending on what size your business needs to be flushed down. Next over here we have the toilet seat. That's the toilet seat. So normally these are soft closing, so I'm not 100% sure yet how this particular one works. Every one I've ever purchased is a little bit different. And then over here is the actual cistern itself. That's what this looks like. And you get various. Here's the inside cavity that you got a frame around up on the wall that will fit the button flush plate, and this will be framed up in a particular way, and I'll show you how I do that when I get to that stage. So yeah, that's this particular design. Some of these internal cisterns that you can buy, some of them come from, I think their brand, very well known brand, I think it's called Gerbrit, and it comes with this like metal frame that goes around, and you frame that into your stud wall. That's quite sturdy. This particular one isn't like that. This one you've got to frame up in a different design. It doesn't feel as strong, but once you put it inside the wall and you tile it all up, it's actually not going to go anywhere. It's very watertight and it works fine. I've installed this one downstairs a couple of years ago and I've had zero problems whatsoever. It works very well. So that's yeah, let's see how we go. First things first, we're going to be removing this door, get it off, out of the way, get rid of this toilet, throw it outside. Got my tools, and so we're just making a start to it. I've got my safety shoes on right now. So if you've never removed a toilet before, it's not really rocket science, but with this particular one, or most toilets, turn off the water first up. So turn off the water cock, so no water's going to come in. Alright. You'll notice this particular one, it's got the water up there, so let's get rid of the water in the cistern. Okay, empty it out, and we are then going to be taking that cistern off and then taking away the base toilet there, which back in the day all I did was simply siliconed it around. That's all that's holding it, so it'd be a matter of cutting it around and then prying it up. So it's not really rocket science, but every toilet's a little bit different, but just get rid of the water first up. Alright, next you're going to want to remove the pipe that connects to the toilet. Not escaping it, there's going to be water going around, so it is what it is, deal with it. Underneath the cistern here, there were, where are they? Kind of missed them, but I've removed some wing nuts that were holding this cistern down, and effectively now this whole cistern is going to lift up like that. Beautiful. Okay, removing this particular cistern, it's pretty much just running a Stanley knife around. All that's holding this particular cistern down is a bead of silicone. As you can see, there were no bolts put in, toilet bolt, pan bolts. It just honestly didn't need it. Silicone does such a marvelous job, in my experience, at holding a toilet pan down to the floor. You can go right ahead and put in bolts if you're probably doing it for a customer, but just doing it for myself. This toilet's been here for at least 4 years and it was rock solid. But now the time has come for me to remove it. I've cut around the silicone around and pretty much just started shimmying it, and I can feel it's already lifting up.
is what's called a P design. Doesn't go down, it's not an S design where it goes, pan goes into the floor, but rather the outlet goes into the wall. So there we go. It's not always pleasant, and water's coming out, so you just got to start cleaning all that business up. It is what it is, that's life, people. Okay, so the toilet's out, just cleaned up a little bit. Our next job will be to start removing all these wall tiles, and then we're going to be basically breaking out these floor tiles here as well. Probably should just add on that the reason why I'm going to be removing all the wall tiles around is because I want to do full wall tiling from floor to ceiling, sort of like over here, from floor to ceiling all the way to the corners. I just think that looks really nice, and going to be doing a very similar thing, just all white tiles. White is so nice and easy, it's not super expensive, and it just looks great in my opinion. When we do that, we're going to measure up from the floor as well here, just the height of the new toilet pan, and I'm going to start to get an idea what kind of heights I'm going to be needing to put the new pan on top of floor tiles that's going to suit that hole that's in the wall there. So I've yet to measure all of that, and I'll show you that as I get to it. Alright, so something I've just done now is done a lot of measurements up on this toilet pan, and just dig up my trusty U-Butte sketch plan here with all my relevant dimensions, and this is what I will be working from. There you go, gotta love it. That's the way we work around here, using that kind of stuff. Getting there. Just got that little section to do, and then we'll start with our wall tiles. Okay, back into it. Oh yeah, Mr. Hart, what a mess! Alright, so we've finished ripping up all the tiles. It's never a pleasant job, but this is where we are at the moment, just giving that a quick dust down. A bit of the bedding has broken off. I'm going to do some measuring first, and measure the dimensions here. You know, if I was to put on I think I've got like a 8mm tile, floor tile that I'll be putting down, and just what the levels will be like with my pan coming up with the waste outlet, if it reaches there or not. And this will give me an idea. I may not actually have to remove all this bedding. I'll fix up all these sort of broken parts of the bedding here, just with some mortar type of mixture, or maybe levelcrete. We'll see what I'll use, and just get it flat, and I think that might do the trick. So my next job now is going to be to cut off the outlet here, the toilet outlet. What the? It's not like glove. It's crazy. Yeah, going to be cutting that off and just doing a bit of a grind down of the entire surface here. a lot of dust will be created. We'll close the door on this one and let the dust settle and vacuum it all up at the end. But just getting the bedding down to a little bit, I don't know, 3 mil more down on some of the high points, and that should be good enough for the tile that I'm going to be using here. Okay, everything's been grinded down. All the dust has been vacuumed, all the walls have been scraped down. So what we're going to do now is just the last job for the day, then we're going to call it quits for this afternoon. Pretty much all the loose stuff has been removed, and so what we're going to do is just pretty much put a coat of Bondcrete, and just pretty much that's a mixture of water with PVA glue, and that's perfectly fine. Just going to cover all the floor here, and that holds down all the dust, and it'll help the next coat of, or the layer of sand and cement mixture that I'll put together here to level it off, to bond a little bit better. And you can see the way the floor was constructed here, or the bedding, was very typical that some chicken wire was used, okay, with on top of a layer of black plastic, and the bedding was put on top of that. And to be honest, it works great. It works perfectly fine. I'm reading online, some guys are like, oh, you no need to use a chicken wire, and to go to all this other waterproofing methods. Honestly, this is upstairs, and this is 35 years old. There's never been a leak. This works perfectly, this method, and it's not that hard at all to do. You can do all your waterproofing afterwards if you need to, but this is great as long as you don't penetrate the black plastic. Just be careful of it and lay it down nicely. Put the chicken wire down, put the bedding on top, and that's fine. And that's exactly what I did for the bathroom over here. Did exactly the same, except I probably raised the chicken wire up a little bit with bits of fibrous cement so that it's a little bit off the plastic, and so the bedding, cement and sand can sort of go underneath the chicken wire, and it has a little bit more strength. But I did exactly what they've done here, over here, and not one iota of a problem at all. Alright, I'm just going to put a bit of Bondcrete on here, and it'll keep all the dust down, and it'll get ready for the layer of bedding that I'll do tomorrow. Actually have to mix a bit more. It's soaked up a whole lot more than I thought it would. So this is just a mixture of, like I said before, PVA glue and water, and pretty much exactly the same as the Bondcrete product, which just helps hold the dust down and helps hold things together a little bit more. And if I'm putting any more bedding on, it helps adhere one layer to the next. So yeah, this, the exposed concrete sections are just drinking this stuff in, so it will act like a little bit of a sealer as well. So yeah, just pour it on, who cares. Don't get too stressed about it, this all dries up nicely. There we go, that will soak up. Some up on the walls. I'm going to be tiling all the walls too, so that's all good. I probably shouldn't have done it like this, but I'll just walk on this just so I get some up on the walls here. pretty much covers everything I wanted to cover. It's pretty good. Alright, so what the plan for tomorrow is that basically put some new bedding here. If I had time today, I'll do it today and let it dry, but I'll start working on the back wall, rip up this back wall here. Back wall, and open it up and start framing it for the new cistern that I'm going to be inserting in there. So we need to expose the pipes there, the waste pipe, the water pipe. We'll have to do some plumbing because we need that water cock there. It will be coming up on top of the cistern, and I will show you how that looks. And yeah, that's it for today. Let this all dry down and soak, and yeah, get back into it tomorrow. So the start of a toilet renovation, yay. Right, so this is the tile we're going to be using on the floor here. It's left over from the floor tile that I got here, and just bringing it into the bathroom here. Just going to get an idea if our heights are good. If I'm going to be just patching up these holes with bedding, then once that's done, I'll lay the tile up on top. So I need to make sure that the height is 130 millimeters from the floor to the base of the waste outlet. And so let's have a look. And I see 130 millimeters, that looks good to me. And 140 to the top. So in my books, it looks pretty good. Now I'll check my trusty plan. And I need 130 to the base and 235. So I think I said 140, but it's really 240, and that's fine. So that's gonna fit a treat. Just another job I have to do first is remove the architraving from around the window because I want to straighten out that bend. I also want to remove this back gibrock from the wall here, expose up the stud work so I can do some framing in preparation for the toilet. So if you're going to be removing a architrave ever, what you need to do is get a Stanley knife and cut right in the corners like this. This will make it easier once you remove the timber edge, just for the paint not to totally peel, and it just gives it a bit of a neater finish. So I'll do that all around, remove the architrave and open it up. Alright, whenever you're working with old architraves, you're bound to split some things at times as you're pulling it out. Don't stress, like I'm going to be reusing these, so no point in buying new ones. I can just refit these, but don't worry, when you put it all back in, you bog it all up, sand it all down, and it's all right as rain. I like using a big pair of I think these are called pincers. Some of the best things you'll have for pulling out nails from things. So yeah, grab yourself a set. They're well worth the money. I've got a smaller one and I've got a bigger one like this. Righto, that's that done. All the nails removed. Next we're going to be cutting across there and taking out this whole back wall with my trusty Ryobi cutter. I've cut all around, and now it's just a matter of jimming it slowly. I don't want to totally break this piece if I can salvage it. But if it does break, it doesn't really matter. We'll just patch it up. Here we go. So here's the framework. We can see the cold water line coming to there. I'm going to need to replumb that. This pipe will be fine, however, but I'm going to need to do some reframing here to accommodate the new cistern. So we've come to this part where I just want to take out the camber or the bow of this window, and you can see, if I get the angle just right, so the front here is basically, it's coming downwards, and you can notice the back, the whole window frame is bowed up. Okay, very similar idea up there as well, and there it's kind of bowing down at the front this way. What the plan is going to be, we're going to be, I can see at the top there is space here. There's like a, I don't know, 5mm space all across the top. So we are going to be basically wedging the sides of the window reveals here. We'll put a wedge in there on each side, bang it in, and it's going to be lifting up. But at the same time, we're going to have a screw or two. It's going to be pulling this window down. So I'll be screwing it down, and at the same time, I'll be wedging it upwards. Okay, so that should lift up that way. And hopefully this bow should come right. Let's see how we go. Here I've got some trusty hardwood wedges. One thing to point out is I have actually gone up the sides and cut out the nails that are driven into the stud, just with a metal cutting blade on my reciprocating saw. Okay, and just run it up each side. That will enable me to, when I put my wedge here, I can lift it up then, and those nails aren't stopping it from lifting up. So pretty much just gonna put a wedge there and put a wedge in there, and we're gonna bang it in and see how we go. I have also put one screw here holding it down, this part, and then after we're going to put a wedge here as well, just to get it to the right level. Almost there. So what I've done is I've put some wedges around the place, because that was starting to go in like that as I was putting a screw in there, so I wedged it out. This one's pretty good, and I've put a wedge here in the center, and then put a screw going down, and as you can see, I'm going to call that good. But more importantly is there's no curve, it's dead straight. Now it's not perfect, because it still actually goes from the front here to the back. It actually goes upwards, and you can kind of see how it goes up there. But I'm going to call that good, because once I tile it around and put the architrave around, it's actually going to look nice and neat and straight. One more thing I need to do is just up at the top, and the top reveal is still bowing down. It still goes like this. So now that I've got this good, I'm going to put a wedge up here, sort of like a little jack stud, and get it bowed right up, and then I'll be able to screw it, and it should be straight. So it's always a bit of a mission with this kind of situation. It's very improvised as you go, but it's getting there. Alright, and that's the top done. All I need to do now is just cut out the wedges, and I want it to be flush up against here. So I'm just going to use my oscillating cutter. Alright, excellent. All wedges are out, and I'm very happy with the window. It's pretty good. Alright, I'm going to be patching up this floor. Got my mixture, my bedding mixture. It's basically just sand and cement. This is a whitewashed pit sand, and the ratio I did here was basically 1:3. Usually I do a 1:4, but the cement was a little bit old, so I thought I'd just add a little bit extra in. Alright, so we're just going to be filling up all these gaps, and you don't want the mixture to be too wet. You don't want it to be sloppy, just damp. I've probably even got a little bit too much water in this, but as soon as you start to put it in and you start just vibrating it a little bit and finishing it off, water rises to the surface, so you don't want it to be too sloshy, a little bit more on the dry side. Now, I don't really need this to be absolutely perfect, like the whole bedding, existing bedding here is quite rough. I just need it to fill up the holes, because the rest is all going to be covered up with glue, and the glue is going to provide like a 3mm layer there for me. I just need these holes to be patched up, and that's going to come up a treat. I'm happy with that. That's just an example. So that's going to dry up nicely, and you know what, that's good enough for laying tiles here. That's been vibrated down, it's gone into a lot of the crevices there, and you know, it's good enough for a toilet. Okay, I'm happy with that. That's fine. Alright, now just let it dry, and we'll come back and finish off our framing there for the toilet later. Okay, so I'm just up to a part where I'm going to be fitting off the 100mm waste pipe. So I've just chopped this back to a particular dimension that suits the toilet pan and the wall. Going to be extending it by putting this adapter in. Basically it's just a straight adapter, and then we'll be extending it out with this piece of 100mm. It'll be coming out, and I'll be leaving it at a longer length and chopping it off to suit once the tiling is finished. And something I'll just point out, whenever you're doing any sort of work with PVC pipe drainage to prepare it correctly for the glue that we're going to be using. Okay, so you can have either clear glue or blue glue. That's what I've got in this instance. Always prime these surfaces, okay, with a product, just a clear priming fluid, or sometimes they come in red. Alright, that just preps the surface, makes it clean, removes contaminants, and just preps it for the glue to go on, and gives it the best possible chance to seal correctly and to adhere correctly. So I always just use just some kind of an old rag. Just make sure it goes upon all the surfaces. Okay, this one's all clear, but I can feel it, that it's nice and clear or clean. Okay, do it on the one in the wall. There we go all around. And I'll also do it on this one. Happy days. All the surfaces are primed. Pushing it on and leaving it put. I'll bring it all the way to the inside there. It's kind of like this dividing barrier, and it's a good point to push it all the way to that point. Okay. This glue's still alright. Sometimes this glue goes off if you don't use it within a certain amount of time. It's interesting, normally it's blue, but I'm noticing it kind of looks a bit purple to me. Good stuff. Okay, now I'll put it onto the adapter. Good stuff. Put your glue away, and then on it goes. I like to twist it into place and make sure all the you can see. Okay, I've used a bit of glue there, I know that, and that's fine. I'll clean that up in a second. Alright, get my trusty rag. You beauty. Okay, so I'm just up to a part where I'm going to be changing around the plumbing connection for the cold water. At the moment you can see it comes over here, and I'm going to be bringing it upwards. But part of it is, you can do this in either copper piping, which is a bit of the older way, and you can also do it with PEX, a PEX poly type of, I think it's polybutylene pipe, which I have as well, but I'm going to be doing this out of copper. I've got this handy and I think it's a little bit better personally. And so anyway, I'll just show you a little bit of some silver soldering that I'm going to be doing. Okay, so whenever you're doing silver soldering, okay, prep your surfaces. Now silver soldering isn't hard, it's very easy once you've got an idea what you're doing. I like to just sand down my surfaces first of all. Just get them nice and clean. Okay, now in this instance, got two sections of pipe. I'm basically going to be connecting them and just making it a little bit longer like this. Flow of water's going up this way, so I'm going to be expanding this particular joint, making it bigger, that it can fit in this particular pipe. Now, to do this kind of an operation, you need to have a expanding tool. Now, this one's a pretty good one, it's a rigid one, Now what I'm going to be doing is not just going to jam it in and start expanding it. I normally like to heat it up. You'll need some MAP gas. Okay, it's warm enough. I can see the colours changing a little bit. Basically, I'm going to insert it, and you start expanding it. And you can see what's happened there, right? And now it's gotten bigger. Pretty happy with that. There we go. And basically the idea is it's going to take these two pieces in. Basically like so. Okay, and we're going to be soldering that off nicely, and that's join number one done. Alright, next operation is we want to use something like this. This is a silver brazing flux paste, and you can buy this from Bunnings or anywhere that sort of sells plumbing gear. It's like a white pasty type of a material, and you can use a brush or whatever, doesn't really matter. The idea is you want to be putting this around wherever you're brazing, or you want your silver solder to flow. Okay, so let's putting it around there. I'm happy with that. And also we are going to be putting it around here. Now usually I'd use like a bit of a brush, but I don't have one at the moment. Feeling a bit too lazy to go and get one from the man cave, so it is what it is. Okay, just hear all the people going, don't touch it with your hands. This stuff won't kill you. Well, it might kill you if you're going to be eating the stuff. Alright, basically then we join our two parts. Now I'm doing this upside down at the moment, purely for ease, in that as I solder, it's upside down, the silver solder is going to flow down and a little bit more easily. Not that it really matters because it works off capillary action. You can even do this upside down and it'll suck up upside down into wherever you're soldering, but just for ease and I can see it more easily, I'll be doing it this way. Okay, so I'm doing it this a little bit dodgy. I'm kind of just holding it with my foot. But yeah, let's go. So we're going to be heating it up for a while. The copper pipe is going to be changing color, and at the same time I'll be dabbing around with my silver soldering rod until I can see it's just going to melt and flow into place. So give you an idea what that looks like. Just got to hold this correctly. Get the stuff out of the way. Righto. Okay, now I'll be honest, that one took way too long. I kind of overdid it. I was just in a little bit of an awkward spot. However, I can see it has actually gone in everywhere where I want it to go. It's a little bit, looks a little bit dirty, but in all honesty, that is watertight and that will be just fine. And we'll be testing it anyway, but I know for a fact that that is a perfectly fine join. It's gone in everywhere where I want it to go, and it'll do the job just fine. That's just an example, but I took way too long heating that one up. If you want to do the job properly, have it a little bit better than just how I've got it. I've kind of just, I'm a little bit dodgy today. Got my safety flip-flops on, and kind of just holding this in place. Yeah, once you're done, I always have a little bit of water, and I just cool it down so I can hold it. Okay, so it's quite hot, so you've got to watch yourself, but there we go. Done deal. Okay, I'll try to film this one more time, just from a slightly different angle. Now here I'm just putting the top adapter on that's going to be going into the toilet cistern. I've already sanded it down, I've prepped the surfaces, added the flux, and now I've just got some dodgy old piece of tile here. It's got grout on there, but yeah, hopefully this will come out a lot better than the previous one. Just starting to fall over, but that's alright, the job's done. Just to give you a closer look. Once it zooms in, focuses. Okay, the solder has gone in beautifully everywhere. Gives a really nice watertight seal, and yeah, job done. Now this is in a very tight spot, and I can only get to it from around here, so I always put something that's quite heat proof behind. Don't aim the flame at the timbers, obviously, and by capillary action the silver solder was drawn in all around, and we'll be testing that very shortly as well, just to see if it's watertight. I've got no doubt that it is. You know, I could see that it flowed beautifully and got sucked up by capillary action into all of the grooves all around. So that's the fitting that we did here. Did a right angle elbow, and pretty much brought it all the way up. Got another join there, an extension join, and pretty much it goes up. And I need to fit it off a little bit more nicely just over there. That's going to go into the toilet system, and done deal. I'll just straighten it out a little bit more, but otherwise that's it. That is the plumbing connection. I'll turn the water on very soon once it cools down a little, and we'll plug it up. Okay, so I've installed the cistern, and it's firmly fixed into place, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so this is quite very rigid inside here. Now, I'll be upfront. This is probably the most time-consuming part of the project. Getting this cistern into the wall correctly, firmly, and just right in the right spot. It does take a bit of time. So you'll notice with me, I had my plumbing plumbed up. It's screwed in with 3 screws up there. It's firm. It's in the correct location. All right. Basically, the cistern has to come right up to that level.
there's not much messing around. You can twist it a bit left and right, and that's just to fit off to the straps. Those straps are about 3mm thick, so it's quite thick steel, quite rigid, and it's going to hold it firmly into place. You'll have here some indicators on each side. That might be, it's not water level. This is a bit of a level guide. So you throw your level across there, and make sure that's even as you twist it into place. And you know, as long as that's level, it'll be good. I fitted it off. I routed basically a 6mm rebate to accommodate these screws. It's got the strap, the washer, and the bolt, okay, and that's flush going over. So that just allows a sheet, which I'll be doing some sheeting today. It allows it just to go over and covered up. Now this is, what was it, 530mm from side to side. So we'll be putting a sheet directly across there. It's going to get tiled. There's a bit of foam here, as you can see. All right, and this is in solid. Now what I'm just going to do at the moment is, it was pretty tight behind here for the copper pipe. Now the copper pipe, normally you want to clip it off to your wall with, I've got them downstairs, but I'm not using it in this project. They're special 1/2" copper pipe clips. They either nail or screw to timber, and they hold the clip in place, and they prevent bit of vibration happening. This is pretty solid in place. However, there are a few touch points, and what we're going to be doing is just using a bit of silicone, and I've just got any old silicone, you know, just use it up. Usually always got silicone lying around, so this is a good chance to use it. Any touch points with wood, I'm going to be putting some silicone there, because I can't really get to this side to put in some clips. So basically we're going to be putting silicone here, just squeezing a bit there. Here where it touches that point, see it moves there, so I'll be squeezing silicone there, and that's pretty much it. I may even, just for kicks, be putting a bit of silicone just where it touches the paper there, just a little bit behind there. Otherwise the rest doesn't need it. Basically 3 points, 1, 2, and maybe just behind the paper. Okay, and so that's what we're going to be doing next. Okay, this one, there's not much space here, but I'd rather have a little bit of something there. And that's fine. Okay, I'll be putting it underneath here and on top. Cool. And I'll do the same up on top where I mentioned before, and that will be job done. That will stop any sort of vibration that water coming through these pipes there's always vibration that happens. So normally it's because it bangs up against some surface. If you can minimize that just by using some simple silicone, that's a nice rubberized you know, compound in there that will stop any vibration. Laughing. So that's just a little tip. I've just added in here is just a piece of wood. Now this one's important because it's for the water inlet that goes into the bowl. So I've had to cut this down to size, to the right size. Once you do a few measurements, this effectively then goes on like so up to the line, and I've already pre-marked exactly where I want it to go, like so. All right, and once again, if you remember my trusty sketch,
Okay, my dimensions on here tell me what size or what height this all needs to be off the finished surface. So I have a tile here, and I'm going to do some waterproofing. It's going to be a bit of glue. The tile's going to sit on here, so it's pretty much where it's going to be, give or take in a couple mil for the glue. And this comes down here. Now the piece of wood is important because there's a little pipe segment, this one, they'll end up getting cut down to size. This goes into the back of the toilet. When finally it's all in place and I'm ready to put the toilet in, the idea is this will push in like so. If you don't have a piece of wood behind, it's going to go everywhere and just, it's not going to have any support, it's just going to bend inside the cavity of the wall. So this wood is important, and I've put it to the right dimension, which is pretty much 20 mil from where the stud is to where I want it coming out to where the tile is. So 20 mil, for example, is the width of this level, and that's a beautiful finish. It's coming right to the front of that plastic. Okay, right there. That's 20 mil. That's where my gibrock 10 mil tile. It's almost 10 mil. When you finish it, it's going to come to that point right there. So all it's going to be when the tiles are finished, just this, it's going to be a flush surface, nice hole, and the toilet just pretty much just comes straight up against and sits inside, and yeah, that's it. So this piece of wood is important. Now the way I've fixed this, I didn't bother bringing up my air compressor nailing gun. I've pretty much just, this is hard, I can't screw it the other way, so I pretty much pre-drill some holes, okay, all the way through, and just put in 4 50 mil long screws, and boom, at angles, and that is solid as a rock. So yeah, that's the next important little bit that you can't forget. Alright, and one lucky last thing that I've done just before I start to close it all up is I have added one more piece of blocker here. Okay, and this is just to, when I pull the toilet out, if I have to, okay, it's gonna hit against that and just stay rigid still. So I've got one behind there to stop the pushback, and this one in front to stop it when I pull it out. Otherwise, that's pretty much good to go. Alright, so I'm going to get ready now to start closing this up. I'm pretty happy with it all. Let's give a bit more of a view from back here. Yep, cool, happy days. That's looking good. Alright, next, before we put the sheet on, we've got to put this flush panel shroud, I think you might call it, on. And that's pretty much, it's got these keyholes here, and you can see the plastic tabs. Effectively, you find where they are, and it just clips into place. You can see that little clip there, and that little clip there. Okay, to remove it, you just press it in, and it comes off. Okay, but that's pretty good. And one more thing that we're going to put on top, just in front, is just a cover panel, just like that. And yeah, it comes on and off easily. Now I'm going to be measuring around here for my sheet. Okay, and do a square or rectangle opening here and fit it on. I've got something to gauge it to now. I'll probably just move that for now. Okay, and just measure it up neatly, just maybe like with a 3 mil gap around. Okay, so just preparing my sheet to cover up the cistern and the wall. If you remember, this is a sheet I pulled out from there in the first place. Now, because I'm a bit of a cheapskate and I really can't be bothered going and buying a brand new sheet, I'm just going to be reusing it, and there's nothing wrong with reusing an old piece of sheet. So I'm prepping it, Now I've got my main two holes for my waste outlet, and this is the water inlet, and as you can see there's a bunch of other holes here. Now I'm in a, I can cover up those holes very easily just with plaster and tape, but because the sheet's off, here's a little quick tip. I'm simply going to be using a bit of this cloth tape and just covering up the back of the holes. That gives me straight away my backing over here, and just wherever there's a hole. Put this on the back, and when it comes time to actually plastering it, straight away I've got a hole that's going to be easily plugged up because I've got a little bit of backing on there. So let's do that. Now I'll be the first to say that this this is not really kosher. I'll bet you there'll be, if I post this video up, there'll be comments from people, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that, what a rubbish job. Of course you can do that. There's no reason why you can't. Of course you can. You can do anything. And as you'll see, this will turn out just fine. This gives me a backing for my mud. I'll be squeezing my mud, I'll be taping it from the front. This just makes it so much more easier. Remember, this is just improvising. Done. Okay, that gives me my backing. Okay, I've just done a test fit of the sheet and it's looking pretty good. Fits perfectly. Next job will be remove that sheet. I'll put some glue on the studs, and I've got some blue stud adhesive. Always use this stuff, it's fantastic. And then I'll be screwing it on. I like to mark some lines where my timbers are, where I can screw, where I can't screw. I like to make sure that I don't want to hit any pipes. I've already taken photographs of the stud work behind, and obviously these are great to do if you're doing any home renovations and something goes wrong, or you want to just use them for reference for future projects. You can always go back to a video or always go back to a still photograph and have a look how you've framed it all up behind the gyprock and the tiles. So I'll take the sheet off and yeah, mark some lines, glue it and hang it up. Alright, so we'll put some glue up. I personally like to use a little bit more glue than just in my own home than if I'm going to be doing it commercially. I'm pretty happy with that. That's overkill with glue, but who really cares? I've got heaps of glue here, so. So I've already pre-marked where I'm going to be screwing here. It's a little bit more of a sensitive area because of because there's all plumbing work behind it, so I like to just make sure exactly where I'm going to be putting my screws. Now I'm being careful to screw in these gyprock screws. They're bugle head, meaning you don't don't want to tear through the paper. Don't overkill it. Just drive it in very carefully, and yeah, just so it's just flush beneath the paper of the gyprock. Keeping in mind I'm going to be tiling all over this anyway, but still I I still like to do it all a good job though. Okay, just mixed up a bit of plaster. I like to use the powder product, base 45, gives me roughly 45 minutes to work with. So I've mixed up a bit of a batch here. And we get to like a creamy consistency. I like working with the Hawk and broad knives, so that's what I will be using to do my taping. Let's start with this bad boy. I'm just going to tape up the corners. If you're using tape, and I recommend that you do always for corners, there's a perforation point down the centre. Just give it a quick fold. Usually I'll do this very fast with a corner pre-forming tool for tape, but here just 2 internal corners, who cares, just do it by hand. Happy days. Anyway, let's throw it up. Happy days. That's fine. Alright, just finished the plastering. That's good enough. It's all the mud I had. I've missed out this little corner here, as you can see, but that's just going to be, I'm just going to put a bit of normal gap in that one. Otherwise the rest is all fine. Just let that harden. Once it's hardened, I'll give it a bit of a scrape down, and then basically I will vacuum this whole floor up and get it dust free as much as I can. And then I'm going to start putting around some silicone all around in the corners, okay, because I want to apply some waterproofing. And basically I've kind of got a big roll of mesh and waterproofing membrane, going to be going up on the walls a bit, just making the whole floor waterproofed in preparation for the tiling. So I could get away without doing the waterproofing, to be honest, but I just wanted to still make a watertight finish here. That's what I did in this bathroom over here, and I'll do exactly the same over here. It's worked like a treat in there, so waterproofing doesn't really take that long, and it dries fairly fast using the water-based acrylic type of membrane, and it's very, very good. So that's where we are up to at the moment. Okay, we're next going to go around. This has all been vacuumed here, neatly cleaned. Walls have been scraped off, and now we're just going to go around the corners where there's gaps. So I'm just using up old silicone. Just better to be used here than going hard in the man cave. Alright, for the waterproofing, this is the product I'll be using. I've still got this from the previous bathroom project. Cromolyn product, it's called Rapid Undertile Waterproof Membrane, and this actually hardens to a flexible coat, and it's a bit of a rough texture, which is fantastic for tiling too. And we're going to be using it in conjunction with some waterproofing bond breaker tape. This isn't real bond breaker, it's just a membrane, but putting the silicone underneath and putting this tape over and painting this product in makes it into what's called a bond breaker in the corner. Right, so what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to apply what's called a consolidation layer, and that's pretty much just one part of the waterproofing product to one part of water. So it's very similar to like a bondcrete, you could say, but it's usually using the actual waterproofing product itself. Just mixing it up with my trusty stirrer. That's good enough. I'll be making this a bit more runny and just painting it around up on the bedding that I put down, a bit of the walls where I'm going to be applying the finished waterproofing membrane. While that's stirring, this is what it looks like. I've only got a little bit left. This will be more than enough for me to do my project here, but it's a good product. I'm very, very happy with this, and it's all water based, so clean up is very easy afterwards. So I'll be painting this all over the floor, up the walls, wherever I want the waterproofing to go, and yeah, let it dry and then apply a proper thick coat. Now I want to just do this as a bit of a bondcrete type of layer, because just in some parts now I've put on new bedding here, and I just want to make sure that that waterproofing membrane sticks to it really well. So obviously this stuff doesn't stick to any of the silicone that I put there, but it will stick everywhere else, and I'm happy to allow it to run. The next coat will have the cloth mesh, and that'll be going on top of this, and it will stick really nicely to this product. Okay, and I'll do the whole floor, and you get the idea. This goes on everywhere. This is a really 1-to-1 ratio, very watery, and it'll just stick into everything, all the pores, all the holes, pinholes, and whatever is on this floor. Alright, so that's just that first layer down, and I'll just let it dry, and I've kind of had a bit in the bucket, so I just wiped it all up on the walls. And yeah, so the next one will be the proper full application. Okay, so I'm just going to be applying this mesh into the corners as part of the waterproofing.
lovely. And just pretty much work my way all the way around and up the corners. Kind of looks like a roll of toilet paper, doesn't it? See? Okay. Let's get this coat down pat. Applying waterproofing first helps the fabric just to stick to it. This is waterproofing has all been done. And it looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. All the corners are all sealed up, and it's just a rough wall there, but the tape is all in the corners, as you can see. And we're going to be doing some tiling of the floor today. Yep. Okay, so I'm just setting up for my tiling, and this is only 900 by 1800 long, so it's not rocket science. It really goes fairly fast, but still, you've still got to set up and have an idea how you're going to lay your tiles. Critically, for me, I want to start from the back and work my way out for obvious reasons. And so I just like to cut my pieces here so they're good to go. It's all fitting beautifully. All right, and then I want it to finish nicely in line with this edge, maybe just slightly proud, just a little bit higher, so we're not hitting our toes and feet on that, but you're feeling the round edge. But it'll be fairly flush, just maybe 1 mil higher. So yeah, I like to also just throw a line. I like my tiling to be straight. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I will throw one line down there. I'll just flip a chalk line from here down to there. I'll get rid of these, and then we'll just start laying from the back out, and it should come out perfectly. One other thing to keep in mind is when you tile, now these particular tiles have all different patterns and that kind of stuff, and a little tip is on the back of each tile there is a little arrow, and if you can see that arrow right in the center there, it tells you which way all the tiles should go. So you can pick and choose. I'm going to make the arrow point outwards towards the door, and so it's going to come out like that, and it should be very randomized patterns doing that. However, it'll be consistent. Alright, so I've just got my reference lines, just so you can see. Even though it's a small area, I like it to be square and straight. So when I'm looking down from the corridor, you know, I'm the type of guy who looks at my lines, and in tiles, if they're not straight, it just sticks with me. You know, I see it straight away. So we'll make sure it's nice and lined up, and we'll start laying the tiles coming down. Let's get on with it. Alright, so just about to start tiling. So a couple of things to be aware of. Make up a mix, but you need a few tools whenever you're doing tiling, and for this instance doing floor tiling. So I've mixed up some adhesive. This is left over from a previous job. I've got heaps of it. I don't know if I've made too much here, we'll see. I always have like a bit of a broad knife. It's just what I use. I have a cut down trowel, brickies trowel, just to scoop it out and flop it on the floor. And then for floor tiling, you need a 10mm toothed trowel. Okay, and this will get your spread out. Something I'm going to be trying, I've never used these before. I don't use crisscrosses or wedges on floors. I think that's a waste of time. You only use crosses and wedges for wall tiling.
Never use it on floors, and I absolutely hate it when tilers use crosses on floors and then they leave the plastic in between the tiles. It sometimes doesn't grout right and the wedges are still seen. Never, never, never use crosses, those plastic things, up on your floor. However, this time I'm going to be trying, not that I really need to, but I'm going to bought off eBay for a few bucks a bunch of these tile levelers. So I'm going to give this a go. Crazy, but I thought this will be more for wall tiling, like when you want it to look schmicko and all the edges to come up right. But let's just try it on the floor just for a practice run. I've never used these. Let's give it a go. The idea is it's a really thin piece of metal there, and you effectively turn it into place how you want it up on the edges, and then you tighten or lift up the tile edges on each corner like that. Or we can use this plastic wrench that comes with it to turn it. So yeah, I'll give that a go, and that's just to make all the corners of every single tile marry up perfectly. Okay, so I'll be trying that off on the wall. I've never used these before, so we'll see how effective they are. There's a few different designs of this stuff. There's this style, which I thought is pretty good because they're all reusable. Once you're done, you take them out and go. There's another design, like a wedge design, and you put your wedge in and effectively, and you've got this other sort of a holding down component, and one of those snaps off and stays under the tile. I don't really like that. I like to remove things from tiles, and yeah, I bought these ones cheap as chips, and we'll see if they're any good. Now keep in mind, I'm certainly no professional tiler. All this is, and so if there's any tilers out there watching me do this, I know I'm not trained as a tiler, but you know what, we'll lay these tiles down and it'll be good enough. So you notice I've got up on here a couple of lines. They're critical for me. I want to make sure when I measure off the finished tile height that there are certain distances that I've got according to my plan, and that way when the toilet pan fits on, it will be perfect. So I need to make sure that my finished tile is the correct height over here. That's why I've got these reference lines, and I've always measured up that previously, and you go to great lengths just to make sure it fits right. Now I've got a bit of a reference line. I always leave a bit of a gap because I like to make sure my tile goes up nice and neat to that line. If I just spread the glue everywhere, I'm not going to be able to see it. I've got all these tiles already oriented, arrow pointing downwards, so I'll pretty much just be throwing it on. Okay, so I'm bringing them down to the reference line I've got down here. Okay, I want to start eyeballing them. Edges are feeling pretty good. Okay, let's try these clips or levelers for the very first time. with 2 wrenches. So where is it? Kind of goes in. So I think the idea is we put one on each corner. I can see it lifts the tile up very nicely. Looks better than I thought actually. So I'm pretty impressed with how it's leveling it out. It actually feels really good. Normally I just go by eye, and yeah, it's been alright, but this should make it better than alright. Nice. Just as I'm slopping all this mud everywhere, I have to say I'm very impressed with the levelers. I actually think they do a really good job. And the beauty of these things is they're absolutely reusable. Whereas the other system, you've got to continuously buy, not wedges, but the other, I don't know, component, what it is that stays under the tile. So give me this system any day. Knobs thing. Very impressed with these levelers. I thought they'd be rubbish, to be honest, but I can feel the difference compared to just doing it by hand, and you know, compared to just going like that. This actually makes it, I can just feel it, the difference. It's just great. You can still shift it around a little, but effectively that's it. I'm happy here. It's just about 1mm proud of the aluminium angle, and that's a good job. Once again, I've never used those levelers, but I'm very happy with them. It does take a little bit longer, but I think for the end result of what you get, I think it's worth it. Like, that is perfect, all of those edges. So yeah, so that's it. We'll let that harden. So I've just finished cleaning out the grout lines and getting ready to grout the floor tiles. So that's an important step. Got to make sure that all the glue and residue are off the surface, and off, more importantly, from between all of the grout lines, and give it all a good vacuum. And you can see it's all just ready to go for the grout to be squeezed in nicely. That's the grouting finished. I've just given it a wash over. Got rid of all the grout, the mud, and so we're just gonna let it dry. I didn't bother filming at all. You just basically got to use a wet sponge and just clean it off many times. And we'll let it dry off and then buff off the haze at the end. Otherwise, yeah, looking pretty good. Ceiling here has actually gotten, I've given it 2 coats of semi-gloss white paint. So the ceiling is all fresh and good to go. And I have also given the window reveals 2 coats of water-based enamel paint. And it's pretty good because it dries pretty good, and I'm pretty happy with the finish. And what the plan is now, I'm going to be putting like a square chrome trim that goes all the way around. I'm not going to be putting the window or timber architrave back around. I'm going to give it more of a modern look and put up a square set silver trim that goes all the way around, and we'll tile up to that. So that's going to be my next course of action. I'll just measure it up and then cut the aluminium, and it's going to end up looking like the bathroom trim that I've put over here. So you can kind of see I've buggered it right up to the timber edge, and it's just nice and neat, and no need for timber architraves. I did the same around the doors here in the bathroom. I'm not going to bother doing that over here. I'm just going to be leaving the architraves here. I've given it a fresh coat of water-based enamel, and we'll be just tiling up to there. I'm feeling a little bit lazy. It's only a toilet, so no one's going to really look and appreciate the chrome-plated trims in the toilet. So that's our plan for now. Let's get to it. There we go. Got all the trims cut to size, and now we're pretty much just going to be screwing them up into place. I figured the square trim around the window. Now I've done this probably a little bit different than the way it should go, but it'll work just fine. So essentially what I've done is I've put a screw up on each corner and figured it so that it's a nice corner miter point, and then pretty much as if it's gone around and just put in some tile. This is rubber modified tile glue, just like that, and then I'll be able to remove those screws, and that's going to just stay in place nicely. So that's the way I've done that. Gonna now get on to putting some wall tiles up, and what I've done is I've marked a few reference lines. I usually like to put a few absolutely level vertical lines up the wall, and you see I've done the same over here, and you just do it where there's a join. They'll be pretty much marrying up with the tiles on the floor. All my tiles in here, the wall tiles, are going to be white. So I'm just going to start off by cutting probably the most difficult part, and that's cutting a couple of tiles that are all you know, requiring precise measurements around the flush panel, the inlet and outlet, and the window. The rest is all pretty much easy. These ones will require some cutting, so that's what I'm going to get onto now. Just measuring these and then starting to lay that back wall first. Righto, just cut my first 3 tiles. All of them had to be cut, and just testing this one. This one's quite critical, so it's all looking pretty good. I'm happy with that. A little bit rough around the edges there. I didn't really have a hole saw, but that's all covered up, and I'll make sure it's all grouted nicely. Got the first 3 tiles up. Now I'll tell you what, these levelers, they're absolutely amazing. Like, I love them, absolutely love them. All right, that's the first three. I'll just get the next three up on the line. And that's the next row. All right, bit by bit. And that's the third row up. And it always gets a little bit tricky to try to do a neat job when you're cutting it like this, because sometimes the window isn't always absolutely level. So I wedge it out slightly like that. It gives me a nice smooth finish, and when I start grouting in here, it all gets held in place beautifully. Otherwise, yeah, looking pretty good so far. Happy with the job. Alright, we are slowly but surely getting there. We've tiled about halfway up the wall, and even though it's only a small toilet, it still takes time. It still takes time getting, you know, the lines straight, getting the tiles straight, making the cuts in the corners, cuts on each side here, you know. I'm just trying to get it looking good. But it is getting there, so I'm very happy with how we're looking. Here we are, end of the day, finished all the tiling. So floor to ceiling, it's all good. Tomorrow we'll grout this up. So I've just finished cleaning out all the spaces, checking through all the tile lines, scraping out any excess glue, and she is now ready to be grouted. It's looking pretty good. All right. Absolutely hate grouting. For me, it's up there with painting. Why do you hate grouting so much, Johnny? Well, because the cleaning part of it, your hands are constantly dipped in water, and it honestly just gives you old wrinkled hands, and it's just a very monotonous job. Just don't enjoy it. It's one of those things. Give me carpentry, give me electrical, give me plumbing, it's all fine, but when it comes to tiling's okay, but it's the grouting part that I just really don't like. However, has to be done. Anyway, you get the idea. So I've just literally finished doing the grouting in the bathroom, and now the process is to just let it dry. Haze builds up on the wall from the grout. Got to come down and buff it all off until it comes up mirror polish. And have I mentioned just how much I hate grouting? But anyway, I'm glad it's done. You know, even though it's a tiny little toilet, it still took me a few hours to do simple little grouting within this toilet cubicle. It's crazy. But anyway, we are getting there. So just gonna go have some lunch and coffee and come and buff it all off slowly. Cool. And now we come to the buffing part. So this is where we basically grab a towel and we've got to start wiping it off until it comes up shiny like that. So there's a bit of dust that comes about usually in this process. And you've got to look at all various different angles, and yeah, it looks like it cleans off pretty fine. So time to do the whole thing and get it looking good. So this is what it looks like when it's been buffed and the floor vacuumed, because there's always a lot of dust particles. So that's it. So yeah, overall it's come up quite nice. I'm quite happy with it. We're up to our next stage of work with this bathroom. And basically, I think what I'll be doing next is I'll be installing the toilet pan, getting that into place. I'll first of all put it into place, test out that there's no leaks before I do a final seal off. So what I do is I put it into place, make all the connections, fill up the cistern and put a flush through and make sure there's no leaks that take place. Before I do that though, I'm just thinking about it now, is I might actually just seal all around with silicone. That's just pretty much white bathroom grade silicone. I'll be running a bead all along around the edges, up the corners, and up this corner. I won't be doing it where the tile meets the timber. I like to leave that put, but wherever tile meets tile, I will be running a bead of silicone. Today is a very special day. It's not just special because I got my safety flip-flops on. It's special because the toilet pan is going in. So I have actually, I didn't bother recording it yesterday, my phone was going flat. I sealed around the corners, okay, just with white silicone, up the corners there, and there. That way it's nice and watertight and it looks quite neat. Okay, it's not rocket science. We're going to put the pan in, do a little bit of plumbing and fitting off. That's going to be my priority, get the toilet working today for the kids so they can stop using our toilet in the middle of the night. And yeah, I'll just film a few things along the way and show you how to connect the toilet. Alright, so a couple of things for this particular operation, installing the pan, is need a few things. I need a 100ml toilet pan collar. I always like to buy a new one of these and just make sure the rubber seal is good. They're only like about 10 bucks. Don't cheap out and use old ones. Just get yourself a fresh one. This comes with the toilet. This is the water inlet, and toilet's back there. Some PVC, you know, primer, fluid, cement. I use a little bit of grease as well, and I'll show you where I use that. So I always have that handy. Cutting grinder, cut the PVC pipe, and obviously most importantly you need the pan. So this bad boy is what we're going to be putting in. First up, I just position the pan into place and just have a look at the fit. So I'll just be pulling it up against the wall and having a look what kind of gaps I've got. Okay, so you can see I'm going to end up having a bit of a gap here. That's no problem at all. That's no deal breaker. This is no issue here. This gets filled up with silicone afterwards, so that's not a problem at all. Don't worry about that. Okay. Alright, I'm just having a little bit more of a think about this cistern, or this toilet pan. And I think what I might do, just for something different, is I might raise it up. It's an 8mm raise up at the front, so I've just got a couple of wedges, and I might actually lean it so it's fully tight and sealed. It's not a 10mm gap against the wall there. Rather, I've got it lifted up down here like that. So I'm just having a little look. Let's see what the level is like. It's got like about 5mm, which I think is perfectly fine in the grand scheme of things. I think this might be a little bit better, and then I'll seal it under there. So yeah, I'm considering that this is probably the way I am going to be heading with this. So I'm going to put some kind of a bit of a wedge system underneath here to support this, as opposed to directly on the floor. So we'll see how we go. I might change my mind, but this is what I'm thinking at the moment. Okay, we're going to be gluing in this pipe section and then cutting off exactly what we need. So once again, it's always important to prime the inside and outside pipes. Whatever you're gluing to with PVC, it will make your glue stick absolutely perfectly. You don't usually need much, but I can just feel this one just needs a little bit more cleaning. Do the same thing with this pipe. Excellent. Feels very nice and clean and ready to get put into place. You might be able to see what I've done here as I was tiling. There were obviously gaps between the tile, the plasterboard. Basically I just fill up that whole gap with tile adhesive as I go, and then once the pipe's inside like that, not that it's ever seen, but I will still go around here and I'll probably just put silicone around there, make it all nice and tight. Up with this one just I did put glue around here too, and just put a bit of grout there. That's never seen, but it's just something that I do just to close up the gaps. Normally you don't need heaps of glue on PVC pipe work, but just for this particular operation, I want to make sure I'm thoroughly coated. Any excess that falls off, so you can see it's all nicely sealed, and I'll be pushing it all the way in, turning it as I go. There we go. And just hold it in place. PVC pipes, they have the glue on there, tend to want to push out, so you apply a bit of pressure for about 15-20 seconds. Just wipe down a bit of that excess glue. Good stuff. And that is a nice joint. My next operation is, if you remember my trusty mat, I know that from the back of the waste outlet to the back of the pan, 125 mil. Alright, so now I've got to make a few calculations I should say, and measure, 125 mil is from the back of the wall, which effectively is the back of the pan, okay, and to the outlet there, up to that point, 125 mil from there to there. So what I need to do is I need to put on a toilet pan collar, okay, and I need to measure effectively the inside of that outlet right there, okay, will hit up against, just a bit hard holding it, will hit up against that edge that's right there. See that edge? As the toilet outlet in the pan goes inside, it'll hit up against that. So effectively I want to measure it so that it's 125 millimeters all the way out, but so the back of the outlet hits up to there. So I'll be making a few measurements now, cutting it off, and then this gets glued into place, but I'll be testing it all first before I get too excited. I've already primed inside, outside, and this edge. So now it's time to put this into place. Now this is quite critical. You want this to be just right. So I've measured it quite a few times. Let's just making sure that it's all good. Ruler, because I know where I've got a mark on here. Pencil mark here on the outside indicating where the outlet comes up to, and I want to make sure that the measurement is correct. Twisting it into place. Now this is critical. Just getting my distance right. I think that's pretty good. Put the collar a rubber seal on. And then the locking collar goes around. Okay. Pretty good. And we kind of put the toilet. Okay, now this is just a test, just to make sure it sits in nicely. I can feel if the outlet on the pan is going into the collar nicely, and that's what I just want to do, just feel. Nice. Cool. Excellent. I can put that away. Good. Okay, so that actually felt quite good. I could feel as I pushed it up that the outlet on the pan went into the rubber collar nicely, and it pulled out. It took a little bit of force, showing that it actually had gone in, and fingers crossed there's a nice seal in there. But we'll be testing all of that out in just a moment. Now I just got to do the pipe that comes out. Okay. Just got to measure that correct distance, put it into place, and we'll do some tests. Okay, so measuring this up, you put this into place, see how far in it goes. I've made a line that comes around, and having measured it, I know that line is 25 mil. I then stick this into the back of the water inlet, okay, all the way, and I measure my 25 mil. Now I'm just going to allow 5 mil extra just to double check when I put it into place, and I can cut 5 mil further down. I'm going to do 30 mil, and it should just go straight into place here and should hang out by 5 mil. That way I know that I'm not, you know, I don't want to cut it too short. I'd rather allow more, cut off one more time, and just making sure that it all fits in nicely. So I've made my line here, 30 mil, knowing that I'll cut 5 mil down further if all goes to plan. And yeah, it's only a very short section you can see here hanging out. And that's just the way this pan is designed. So I'll be cutting this off at this point. Alright, so I've cut it down. Let's fit it into place. Okay, and now this is the tester. Let's slide it in. Beautiful. Okay, so that seems to fit quite nicely. Alright, I can see that I will cut off that 5 mil that I mentioned before. That's that 5 mil, and then that'll fit in perfectly. Alright, now something that I do that I guess if you're a plumber and you're watching this video, maybe close your eyes. It's not really kosher, but something I've always done over the years is with collar pans, rubber seals, I always use a good high quality waterproof grease, and I usually spread it around upon the rubber seals. A grease that is high performance and non-corrosive, doesn't eat away at rubber. But I always put it around, you know, like on that outlet. I don't know if I can show this correctly to you. I'll try. Okay, that's a big on the finger. Where is it? On the finger here. Okay, and it goes around the waste outlet. I've always just put it around the edge because it makes slipping it onto or into the collar and the rubber seal so much more easier. It creates a nice watertight seal too, I've always found, never had a problem. And yeah, it'll just slip in, just lubricates it nicely. I put some in the water inlet and also upon that rubber seal as well. Okay, and that'll lubricate it beautifully. Just a little tip there, that's just my little thing. Don't get too upset if you're a plumber, you don't agree with it. It's just what I've done over the years and I've never had a problem with it. It's worked, it's never leaked, it's been great. so I've basically just vacuumed around. I've put in my little wedges. I think that's the approach I'm going to end up taking. That's fine, I'll show you what I'll do with that. Okay, so I've pretty much just slipped it up against the wall for now. I want to test that the water actually comes into the bowl and flushes away, and that there's no leaks around the wall. First thing I have to do is I've taken the panel off, and I need to open up, see the isolating valve. So I've opened it up, and it's allowing water to fill the cistern inside here. Beautiful. The floating plunger has sort of lifted up. It stopped the water flow. It's looking pretty good. Now here we have like a half flush and the full flush. I've simply just taken off the button mechanism, and we'll just do it by hand. So this is it. Let's see. We'll start with the half flush. Okay, so I'm simply going to be pulling this all the way up. That releases the water into the pan and should fill out. There's a pretty powerful flush. Tell you what, if that doesn't flush away your business, I don't know what will. So far so good. I can't see any leaks coming out from the floor. That's a good indication that the water inlet's okay and that it drains away okay. I'm going to do one more flush. It's going to allow that to fill up. An idea how it works. I might turn this the tap on a bit more. And it should turn off very, very soon. Nice. Okay, let's try one more flush. Go the full flush. Okay, and once again, I'm pretty happy with that. There's no leaks I can see around the place. Looking pretty good. Excellent. So I'll just turn this off for now. I'm satisfied that that the cistern turns off, that the floating plunger, I think you might call, or the shut-off plunger actually operates correctly. I'm happy that it flushes down into the toilet pan and there's no leaks around. So I'm going to call that good. My next task now will be basically I'm going to just pull the toilet pan away, and I'm going to be sealing it with silicone the way I'm going to do it. Now, don't do it this way. This is the way I will do it in my home, because I've done it many times before and it works without fail. I'm not going to use the bracketing system that comes with the toilet pan. It's got some nylon brackets that you dyno bolt or drill some holes into the tiles and basically put into on the inside of the pan and fix some bolts through. My system is going to be that I'll be using a bead of silicone underneath the pan and a bead of silicone around the back wall. That's going to get it to stick to the back wall nicely, and it's also going to seal it up under here. When the silicone dries, it holds the pan rock solid. I've never had a problem. I will be using a couple of these wedge systems though, okay, just for this particular instance. That way it's level. This way the pan is just leaning ever so slightly, maybe 4 mil upwards. That's not a problem, but I would rather that this all be nice tight against the ceramic tile at the back there. It looks nice and neat, and I'll finish it off with a bead of silicone at the end as well, just to neaten it off. But I'd rather that this sits here like this. And what I'm going to be doing is putting silicone all the way around. I will leave some of these, I will push some of these wedges or cut them off and put them in, and then silicone around like that. I might even put a couple more wedges around. That just gives me a secure base at the front. It's supported, it's not going to break, and the timber will be in place while I silicone around, and that's going to support this toilet nicely. No need for bolts, no need for any sort of screws to go into the floor. You can do that if you want. I won't be doing that here. There's no need for it. Silicone is going to hold this toilet pan in place beautifully. Okay, so just so you can see, these are the angles, nylon angles that come with the toilet pan. Normally you put them on the inside, drill them down into the tiles floor, and they kind of provide an L bracket fixing point on each side. You put your pan over, put a screw through that hole, and there's loads of little holes there in which a toilet pan screw is fixed into. I'm not going to bother with that. I don't. Just at home. If I was doing it for a customer or something, obviously I'll do it just to make sure that it's all installed as per manufacturer's instructions. However, here in my place, due to my experience, I'm just going to be using silicone, making sure the toilet pan is nice and solid up against the wall and on the floor. Once the silicone sets off, the pan, believe me, it ain't going anywhere. So first of all, you guys just going to put a bit of a bead of silicone around there, okay, then push it up through some wedges on the base, okay, that'll wedge it up against the wall, and then I'll work my way around. One other tip, personally I always like to have some terps when I work with silicone. Everyone's different. This really cleans up silicone nicely, cleans it off your fingers, and more importantly cleans it away from anywhere where you didn't want it to go. That's just me. Everyone does siliconing jobs a little bit differently, and that's fine, each to their own. Now, this isn't a finishing type of touch. This is more silicone that's going to hold this pan in place. Okay, so I'm just kind of putting it at certain points where I know it's going to touch the wall, and I'll do a clean up of this afterwards. Now this part doesn't have to look too schmicko, but I will be wedging it now. Okay, now that's fine. I'm just going to clean that off now, and this provides my adhesion which I can always cut off after with a nice knife if I ever need to pull the pan away. Okay, so I'll clean that up, and you can see I've just put a couple of wedges there, and I know that's pretty secure. Look at that. Level, beautiful. So I've put about 5 wedges, 1, 2, 3, 4, and there is another one down there, 5. So it's giving me about a 4 to 5 mil gap here, but all along the back wall it's exactly flush. So my next task now will be to basically run silicone around here, and I'll be able to run it the whole way around nicely, clean it up. The silicone will be squeezed into the gap here, creating a nice seal from the pan to the tile floor, and that is going to hold it down nicely. And then obviously I'll run a bead that goes up and around and make it a nice neat finish. Cool. And this angle just simply is not the best, it's just a very tight corner. Okay, so you try to put a clean line. My secret, everyone's got a secret it seems with silicone, is I have a little tub of mineral terps, and pretty much I just dip my finger in and I run it along, and then wipe it on a paper towel. Reason I use mineral terps and not like water or detergent or any of that other rubbish is because the terps actually eats away at the silicone, and so wherever you run it, it's actually going to really clean it up nicely and make it adhere. Whereas you use something like water, something like detergent, it won't adhere to whatever it is you're trying to put it to, especially if water gets underneath. However, terps, silicone will break down, and it'll just etch into or hold onto the substrate, whatever it is you're trying to put it into. And there you go. So you can see that gap is filled up nicely, and as you can see, there's a big solid gap here before, and it just looks schmicko. Looks rigid-edge. Now I've just got that line down there to do, and then I'll be running it up and around the bowl, and I'll show you in a couple of minutes what that looks like end job. Otherwise, yeah, just a little tip. That's my secret. A little bit of mineral terps. Use that. Don't use your detergent. Don't use your water or whatever other rubbish the other guys are telling you. This stuff works, and it dries so you can't see anything. You don't have to go wipe it all down after. It'll dry and it'll look perfect. Right, so just finished the silicone, and it goes around nicely. It's a little bit wet still, but it'll dry up. Good, happy with that. It's a good job. Looks nice and neat and tidy, and more importantly, that'll fit in place. I'm happy with how the silicone's all squeezed in nicely underneath. I've squeezed a lot in and any gaps, and that will provide great adhesion once it's dried off by tonight. By tomorrow it'll be 100%. You know, this is just my take on putting silicone around vanity units, tiled areas, wet areas and that kind of thing. Always have some mineral terps. I've tried silicone in many different ways. I've got little tools and, you know, things like that. And to be honest, and I've seen a lot of videos on how to do it, Some guys are saying, oh, it's not rocket science, it's so easy to do. Don't believe it. Silicone something, anyone can put silicone up on a corner and it'll look rubbish. It takes time to learn it. It takes a bit of experience, a bit of practice to be able to apply silicone so it looks nice and neat. All right. Okay. You don't have, I used to in my early days put masking tape everywhere. These days I don't bother because I've got enough experience to be able to run with my finger a beautiful bead of silicone. But the secret is don't use water or detergent. That stuff is wrong to use with silicone. Some guys have success with it. I personally don't, and I don't like it. A bit of water on your substrate and your silicone will not adhere to it. Whereas you use some terps, and I'm not saying to put terps underneath your substrate. However, your terps is a cleaning agent and it even eats away a bit at the silicone, meaning it kind of dissolves and it will adhere to stuff a whole lot better in my experience. Now, I'm no expert, but I'm just saying from my experience what I've found. Dip your finger in some terps and wipe it along, cleaning your finger up on paper towels or napkins, whatever, but doing it often and run it along, and you will get a nice perfect bead of silicone that looks like that. All right. Or you can do a nice thicker bead, it looks like that. That's a nice job, it's neat, looks good in my opinion. Okay, and it's filled up all the holes, it'll adhere nicely to whatever you're putting it to. It's a job well done. So that's just my little tip there, anyway, for what it's worth. Get all the people going, yeah, it's not how you do silicone. Do it however you want. That's how I've been doing it and it works beautifully for me. My next task is now going to be fitting off this. This requires cutting this off to be flush and putting on the flush panel, which I'll get in a second, so we'll see how that's done. So once again, I just put myself like a little cardboard makeshift catcher, bit of duct tape here, so any cutting I'll do will be captured in here. First cut out the corners. That's that one done. Alright, so here's the flush panel. Nice and chrome. It's all ABS plastic, that's what they are these days. First comes this backing plate. You take it off by pressing down and it comes out. There we go. Like so. This determines the flush, I think it's half and full, or the other way around, I can't remember. Good. So this goes into place like this. Okay, I need to cut these holding nylon threaded bars, they're locking bars, have to cut them down. Okay, that's better. So it kind of locks it all into place nicely. Looks pretty good. Once you've determined how long you need these push rods, they're the push rods for the half flush and full flush, how long they need to be. In my case, I can cut up to this distance here, and that allows enough room for it to push all the way in and not hit the back of the cistern. So once again, I'll be cutting them off. I'll just show you this. Okay, so basically it goes at a certain angle, and once it hits the back there, you just twist it flush panel push plates or buttons. Basically push up against there, like that, or like that. The panel itself. Okay, so I'll be putting this on from the bottom up. There we go. Full flush, half flush. Yeah, so that looks pretty schmicko. And to take it off, you're going to be lifting it up and then out. Up. Okay, we got there in the end. To get it all out. Look at that, nice and easy. We'll turn the cistern on. Good. While that's filling up, put this all back into place. Let's test it. Quite a strong flush, I can feel it. But overall, yeah, pretty happy. Let's try one more time, just a half flush. Let's see what that's like. Yep. Happy days. So there you have it. That's the flush push button panel installed. Flushes nicely. Very happy. So with this system, if you ever have to, you know, work on the toilet system and undo the water hose, turn it off, or make some adjustments as to how high the water comes up and down, which is what I just did a second ago. I disconnected this hose and basically pulled this out, and there's a little inside, there's a little screw, and you might be able to see it right there. That screw, you twist it to the right anti-clockwise to make less water come into the cistern, or clockwise to the left to make more water go up higher. So I just made it a little bit lower, and just want to show you just how easy it is to pull it all together again. Okay, like so, and the clips into place. This plate, backing frame, like so. Alright, next up we're going to be installing the toilet seat. Looks like this. It's pretty thin actually, it's one of the thinnest ones I've ever worked with. It's quite interesting. Okay, anyways, this has a soft closing mechanism on here. You can see it there and there. Once you have your upright holders inserted in there, then the soft closing mechanism works. It comes with two of these. This is all rubberized. It has sort of this system that expands. You put it in to the holes on the pan. As you screw it up, it tightens up. So basically finding the right spot where the toilet seat just fits perfectly is central. I'm happy with that. Let's get it tightened down. Alright, so once you've screwed down your holding plates where you want them, we're going to put our covers on, our chrome plated covers. And the beauty of these seats is that they're easy and quick release. So there's a button there and a button there. You press it and it releases. Beautiful. You tighten it up until it feels like the rubber has expanded and is gripping. You get these. Stainless steel brushed steel look. Nice. Okay. And voila, soft closing. Nice. We're going to be hanging up a toilet roll holder. I've just put the door back on, put a little stopper on the bottom there, and nice. Handle doesn't hit the tile, and it closes nicely. Obviously at the end I'll still have to put a new light switch up there, but for now it's good. But what I'm going to do is just show you something different. Is toilet roll holder, normally you would be drilling into the ceramic tile, find your nogging plate, timber nogging behind, and drill some holes into the ceramic tile, and you know, screwing into the timber a toilet roll holder. However, I purchased this from Bunnings, 20 bucks, and this is a new style that they call fusion lock of, you know, bathroom furniture. Now, I've used one of these previously in the bathroom over here, and I'll just show you where. And that is one of these towel hooks. And it actually works out a treat. It locks on so hard and tight, and it can hold 13 kilos. So I'm very happy with that, and it can be removed when needed. So I'm going to use the same system and try it over here. It says it can hold up to 13 kilos. So if you have a 13 kilo toilet roll, okay, maybe from Costco, it can hold that roll. Okay, so we're going to give it a go. 20 bucks, and that means I don't have to drill into my tile here, and this, I can take this off if I ever want to. Not that I do, but that's the idea. We're going to just whack it on. Comes with one of these. Comes with the actual holder. Okay, it's nothing too heavy duty, but good enough. And it comes with this suction plunger. Once you figure out where you want it, you've got to clean the surface first. So I'll just be using some methylated spirits to clean the surface down. That's what's recommended on the box. And this is pretty good. So the way this works is there's a bit of a sticky grommet around. We put this where we want it to be. Once that's done, we're going to be putting this patented pump. We'll put it firmly to the center here, make sure the pump creates a seal, and we pump it. Let's see how we go. Voila. Well, that's quite easy. And hey, at the end of the day, it's just a toilet roll holder. It's some kind of a special suction system, and you know what, it looks fine to me.